You ever get that feeling that you're running full speed, yet somehow you're still falling behind? Like no matter how hard you work, life keeps outrunning you. And you look around and wonder, why am I not where I should be by now? If you ever felt that, you're not failing. You're living in a world that's changed faster than any of us could have ever been prepared for. Welcome to TinderBox IRL. I'm Marcel, and around here we talk about real life. If that is something that you've been looking for, stick around. You're in good company. Here's the truth that nobody is saying out loud. People are not behind, people are overloaded. Work is demanding more, everything is costing way more, and the expectations have at least doubled. And none of this seems to match the world that I grew up thinking I lived in. Can you relate with that? I remember a time that the story was one job provided a whole family. You could have the entire package, the American dream. Dad would go to work, could buy a house for mom and 2.5 children. My life, we found ourselves having to have 2 jobs. So I had to have a job and my significant other had to have a job. But that's not what's going on today, guys. Everybody has to have like 2 jobs or more just to make it. Things aren't adding up. Well, I can say for sure that wages haven't doubled. Our time hasn't doubled. Without a shadow of a doubt, my energy definitely has not doubled. The only thing that seems to have doubled is the pressure. So even though we all probably live a life that's a little bit different, one thing that we can all relate with is the extent of the pressure that we're all under right now. It doesn't seem to be just from one thing, like just your job or just your health. It seems like it's everything all at once. And it's not just me, it's you, and you see it, and it's your Uncle Bob and your friend and your neighbor and your coworker, and it just seems to be more prevalent today. And I think that we can all agree that at some point in time we need to find a way to release that powder keg before we go bang. All right, I'm gonna have to say it, right? Every time I get online or I turn the TV on, I'm being compared to somebody else. And I have fallen victim of this. Or maybe not victim, but I'm part of that because I find myself comparing every aspect of my life to what I see is going on. And it's just mostly not true. It's mostly smoke and mirrors. There's no way. Half of it is fake. The other half is staged. And the rest of us, we lost. We don't even know what's going on. We all just struggling too, trying to figure it out. So here's what it is. The truth is, if we compare ourselves to everybody else, we're always going to feel behind. You know, anytime you shine something up even just a little bit to conceal the dirt underneath it for the next person, you got to know that the other person is doing the same thing. We are not all perfect. We're not all shined up. We really probably all of us, there's a small percentage that probably doesn't really get affected from all of this, but I know that the majority of us, we all banged up and bruised the same right now. We all just trying to figure it out. Yeah, so don't feel behind because you're basing that on illusions that you know are most likely false. It's just smoke and mirrors. But it is nice to dream. Like sometimes you can push yourself when you think something else is a little better and you want it. But those are like minimal circumstances. We see more like envy and things like that because we think somebody else is doing better than us. And when we can't have that, or we work really, really hard and we try twice as hard to achieve that and we just don't seem to make it, we feel like a failure. But it's not true. You know, we all go to the same stores. We all go to the same gas stations. We all know what's really going on. We all feel in that pressure. At least all of us. The truth is, most of us, we all are fighting battles that nobody even knows about. Debt, anxiety, a sick parent. These are all things that are weighing on all of us. A job that they hate, a marriage that's barely hanging on by threads, kids that need way more than we can even give. It's all the sleepless nights that nobody sees, which is probably best. The truth is, most of us, we just hold it together in public. And then when we're by ourselves, we fall apart. We just don't know what's next. And then we judge ourselves for not keeping up. If you're tired of all the noise out there and you enjoy honest conversation, you are home. Give me a thumbs up and subscribe. Follow this journey. Stick around. We got a lot of things to go through. So I do live a life of what I was hoping would be simplicity. Still working on that. My wife and I, we left a six-figure business. We left the hustle and bustle of the big city for something different. And we thought that that would alleviate the stress, but it hasn't. It's just a new kind of stress. And I don't think it really matters where you're on this spectrum. We all feel that same pressure. There's days often that I feel like quitting. And I regret what I've done, the choices that I've made. And that creates a pressure that is hard to hold on to. Like I have to release that. Otherwise, I'm like a powder keg. And I fall apart because I can get lost in what I left behind and get hung up on what I don't have, because what I decided to do was something that I had no idea what I was doing. So my wife and I, we try to live a simple life. We did leave a six-figure business behind to start something new. And starting over at our age, that will humble anybody. There are days that we feel like no matter how hard we try, we're still slipping backwards. Days that I wonder, have we made a huge mistake? And days that I feel like we're failing, even when I give it everything we have. And I know that a lot of you're feeling that exact same pressure. It's just a different circumstance. Starting over doesn't mean that you're behind. It just means that you're brave enough to try. Here's the thing that nobody is telling you. You're not behind. The world just moved the finish line. We can all recognize that today. You know, the days of a one-income family, that's done. The days of being able to afford a home, come on. Those days are long gone. That simple life that we all dreamed of where one income could handle everything, well, that works for some, but for the majority of us, those days are gone. There once was a time that I remember that we were able to make it, but we had to make so much money that it was scary for me to try to maintain that. I came from nothing. I had no riches, I had no wealth, and today I just redefined what all those things are because it's not always cash. But I did believe that that's what it was for a long time, and I based all of it on that, and it was too hard for me to keep up with. And it's even harder today. Just imagine most people today are working 2 and 3 jobs, and you still can't keep up. It doesn't make sense. What are we all working so hard for? And where is it going? How can everything be so out of control and we have no idea why? What is really going on? We all grew up believing in the American dream. At least a lot of us have. But that dream's been lost. The American dream was always the white picket fence, the single family home. You know, the husband, the wife, the couple of kids, and the dog in the yard. The husband went to work, came home, and the beautiful wife had dinner on the table, and you could spend the evening with the children. Today, we're lucky if we even remember our children's names. We don't even know how we're going to feed them. We're always gone. We have to rely on situations that we don't understand anymore. It just seems like everything is more, and we don't have more to give. At least I don't. I can totally relate with that. I lived that life. Before I moved out to this simple life that I'm living today, I was in the hustle and the bustle. I was part of that machine that drives more and more and more. You want status? You need more. And I found myself one day looking at all my stuff, going, what in the world do I have all of this for? What does it mean? I've got no memories with them. Some of them never even came out of the boxes. Where did this stuff come from? And it was always just this nagging and constant pressure that I need to have more. I need to be further ahead. It's the next thing. And everybody's going to recognize. And then it's going to really happen for me. I don't have to pretend that I'm making it. I'll really be making it. But it's never there. Every time I got there, I was disappointed. There was just another journey to the next destination to try to find that success that I was looking for. And it was too much pressure. And it is way too much pressure for people to continue to carry. That's why the world's going crazy. Have you experienced that? Have I just lost my mind? I will tell you that I went from a cush city life to an isolated, completely different life on a compound in a secret location. I'll tell you that there is light at the end of the tunnel. If you're willing to work for it and look for it, it's behind what we call simplicity. When we stop comparing ourselves to the other person, when we quit putting unrealistic expectations of where we think we're supposed to be and be okay with where we are right now, we can get further ahead than we ever thought possible if we stop worrying about where we're not and start worrying about where we are, because we're going to get lost. We live partially in the past and way too far in the future all at the same time. It creates a pressure that nobody can sustain. We don't have to compare ourselves anymore. You're good where you are. You know it. You know what you're going to do next? The next right thing. And it's going to get you ahead one more step. And we're going to stop comparing ourselves to everybody else because they're struggling too. And if they're not, they're probably just not that relatable with us anyways. And the worst thing that can possibly happen by no longer comparing yourself to where somebody else is and where you are is your life is going to get lighter. It's going to get easier. You're not going to be carrying around a bag of bricks with you, wondering why you're not getting ahead. You'll be okay with where you are. And that's okay, because that's where we are. We need to stay grounded in reality and not base it on fiction. What does this mean? This means we are where we're supposed to be. We're fighting our own battles, and we're going to get ahead to where we're supposed to be when we're supposed to be there. And we're going to get there because we're going to continue moving forward. Success, it does not look the same for everybody. And it's also not a destination. It is a journey. And life, it just doesn't unfold the same for everybody. Slow progress, I've grown very aware of what that is. It doesn't mean we're going behind. It still means progress. So if nobody said this lately, you are doing better than you think. We are not falling behind. Most of us, we're carrying way more than most people even realize. We're showing up to a world where everybody seems to be asking way more than what people can actually give. And here we are. We're still trying. That alone, that makes you stronger than you know. And this is TinderBox IRL. Thanks for being here, because somebody had to say it.